The creative impulse, it's such a loaded world. Creativity for me, I'm really scared of that world, to tell you the truth. So I don't even think of myself as a writer or creator, but kind of metaphysically as this kind of traveler that just wants to enter the heart of the world and see what's there. And if I'm really lucky, entering these fields of meaning, I can come back with something.
So many of us longing for the mystic side of it. We're just longing for meaning. We're longing for connection.
I think the best we can do is just really follow that heart calling and, that song of the universe that's calling you, and just be open for whatever happens.
Sometimes it's not a bad feeling. It's an opportunity to see that someone is living something that you're not allowed yourself to live, that you don't feel you're up to or enough to, anything. Like, it depends on the story that you're telling yourself.
And sense that I carried in myself, like, why am I, humble yourself, girl, like, who are you to fish out something meaningful for the world? But that's really how I feel, if I'm honest. And I think that might be what all artists really feel, like when they have a glimpse of beauty, the painter just really wants to catch that glimpse and share it with the world, to open the heart to itself, to... Yeah, and so I know that my best characters definitely are the killers, the murderers, the people who are greedy, envious, and I could never write those characters if I didn't know it so well myself, just how fucking bad it feels. Like Salieri, he's my favorite character maybe in all of cinema. I can watch that movie over and over, just laugh so hard, because that's how I feel a lot. What does it actually mean, authenticity? I think what it is just that you stumble upon a truth. And it's so simple that it feels naive. And then you kind of get scared that naivety is going to be detected by the world. And then you'll be this imposter, who just has this tender heart to share with the world, where we're supposed to be like so clever and genius. And so for me, it's just staying awake to that felt sense of meaning and truth.
Okay. Welcome to Ambitchiously Intelligent. Thank you so much for making the time to talk with us. I hope you will enjoy this conversation. And I'm going to introduce you. Caroline Bruckner. You're a screenwriter, author, creative director, poet, and also something that we picked up from one of your self-description, which I really like. You call yourself story midwife, who's creative. Life weaves through novels, short stories, sketchbooks, and screenplays. What a wonderful, wonderful description.
Yeah, I love
We're
it.
so glad
You're
to
so
welcome you
kind.
today.
Thank you. I love being here with you too.
Thank you. And the first question, I think it's only natural to ask you, because you shared with us that with you, your art comes from somehow this inner itch. You feel this itch and it never goes away. And I want to ask you, do you remember what was the first time you felt that itch, that creative itch? And how did you act on it?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think when we're alone, we never think about these things. It just happens. We live our lives and we do whatever we kind of impulsively do. So I'll try to answer it the best I can. I think that, the creative impulse, it's such a loaded world. Creativity for me, I'm really scared of that world, to tell you the truth. Like, it almost feels now that it's like productivity or statistics or, so... I don't feel creative, if that makes sense. I feel that I was kind of born into a family that lived on the threshold of such beauty and such pain that, and it always made me confused. It felt so confusing to me to live in this family where there was so much beauty and so much pain. And so the itch was just born. I was born with that itch, born trying to enter that threshold. Where does this pain and this beauty come from? And if it's so beautiful, why are we all in so much pain? And so I don't even think of myself as a writer or creator, but kind of metaphysically as this kind of traveler that just wants to enter the heart of the world and see what's there. And if I'm really lucky, entering these fields of meaning, I can come back with something to everyone and say, hey guys, we don't have to be in this much pain, because look what I found, I fished out something from the depth of the soul. And it sounds kind of big, but it feels big, you know, to
Yeah.
the inner person. I think that's what it is to be kind of a mystic, you know. You have this grand sense of soul and meaning and worlds. And so I think there are different creators, different writers. And, you know, I know there are these very lucky people who manage to kind of infuse their soul writing with thriller concepts or horror or whatever they are and make loads of money. I mean, for me, that's very hard. It's hard to infuse, you know, a kind of commercial writing with that deep inner sense of having to find meaning. And, you know, I was always so ashamed of this grand sense that I carried in myself. Like, why am I, you know, humble yourself, girl, you know, like, who are you to fish out something
Yeah.
meaningful for the world? But that's really how I feel, if I'm honest. And I think that might be what all artists really feel like when they have a glimpse of beauty. You know, the painter just really wants to catch that glimpse and share it with the world, you know, to open the heart to itself, to, yeah. And so I think that those of us who had open hearts from the beginning and who felt the world touch them, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
You
you
know,
feel,
also when you talk about being a mystic, you say you know, we talked about it before, and you said like you're sometimes confused between am I a writer or am I a mystic? And my feeling knowing you is that you are definitely both. And like how is it for you, like does it I think the question is more because you went into the financial aspect of it and said like commercial writing.
yeah.
Is there a way for us, or do you think, I do believe it, but for you, like to combine these two, that it doesn't have to be the commercial one, but still being able to earn loads of money, as there's so many of us longing for the mystic side of it. We're just longing for meaning. We're longing for connection. We're longing for being seen.
Yeah.
And that's what your writing feels like.
I think a lot of people have managed that. And I think it's such a personal destiny, whether you get there or not. Like, that's not to be foreseen by anyone. I think the best we can do is just really follow that heart calling and, you know, that song of the universe that's calling you, and just be open for whatever happens. I feel really humble at the moment, you know, because I think that at one point of the journey, you know, you think like you get to a specific place and now it's all going to work, and you have, you think you might have made a name for yourself and now it's all going to, and then for some of us that doesn't happen. We're thrown back into personal crisis maybe, or all of these things. And so who knows? I'm always so happy and so jealous when people make it. Like I feel so envious, a part of me, and another part is so happy for them. And I don't know. I mean, I know that I've been lucky in certain senses, and have worked, you know, for a good salary for many years in screenwriting. And also, I don't know how long that will last, or will it last, or will you find people to work with that feels meaningful? Because then that's the next question. So I don't know, but it's definitely possible. Everything is possible. How do you guys feel
You know,
about that?
I used to feel the same. I think also I made recently a discovery that to be envious of something and to be jealous, there are two different things.
That's a great
And to be
distinction. I love that.
envious,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it's not a bad feeling. It's an opportunity to see that someone is living something that you're not allowed yourself to live, that you don't feel you're up to or enough to, you know, anything. Like it depends on the story that you're telling yourself. So to be envious of something, meaning to me now is that it highlights the opportunity to see what I really want, and that I'm not telling myself the truth, that that's what I want, and that's why I'm not even like stepping my foot into that journey, or like, you know, mingling or something like that. And in terms of the journey itself, I think it's also to envy someone's end result and not seeing the whole journey. And then this podcast offered me an opportunity to see how all those great people were interviewing, how they struggled. And sometimes you sure do want to have this big life and have this opportunities and success, but you do not envy the journey, because most of them, if not all of us, I would say, struggled big way. And it's so connected to, like, as you said, this inner itch and not being able to kind of scratch it off because it never goes away. It's kind of like something intrinsic to you. And it's also, I've remembered the quote from, I think, Leo Tolstoy. He said that all the happy families are happy in the same way, and all the ones that are grieving, they have, you know, almost like instant ways in which they feel pain, like a lot of ways how they feel pain. And I think that's why that early on you were trying to make sense of the pain that were specific to your family.
Yeah, 100%. But also I think
mean-
it really speaks back to, you know, where this kind of gift to enter the writing realm or the creative realm, it, you know, we're always told, like, be grateful, just be grateful you have that, or we tell ourselves that a lot, I think. I mean, at least for us, I know a lot of actors and writers and artists who never achieve great success, and we're continuously being told, yes, but be happy, you know, and humble that you get to express this in a certain way, do it for the art's sake. And it's true, we do it for the art's sakes. But I think, you know, when you get to know all of your inner kind of people who live in you, there will always be that ambitious, you know, little envious, jealous, raging part. And it's not like we transcend that, if you know what I mean. Like, I think we should know that part, and it's so beautiful for writing, because the best characters are in a way those characters then that are the opposite of that gratefulness and that, oh, I'm so happy I just get to dance, or I just get to write, you know, at some points in my life. But I know that my best characters definitely are the killers, the murderers, the people who are greedy, envious, you know. And I could never write those characters if I didn't know it so well myself, just how fucking bad it feels. Like Salieri, you know. He's my favorite character maybe in all of cinema. I can watch that movie over and over, just laugh so hard, because that's how I feel a lot. And so it's not like I go around and feel grumpy and envious of everyone, but I definitely know that part of me. And I think it's important to know all these parts of yourself to be able to write, you know, a multiverse of different personalities.
100%.
I mean, I love that about you, Caroline, is your honesty. And the honesty is also in your writing. And that's why it touches one so deeply. And
So
I mean,
sweet of you.
we will have your, in the show notes, oh God, just your webpage. I got stuck on your poems with the animals speaking your poems. And I was like, what is this? And then I was like, okay, I need to see, wait a minute. I need to see the monkey. No, I need to listen to this. And then I was like, I continue, like, how do you come up with these ideas? Like, what is it that made you, it is the most, I mean, you are also, you come from graphic design. Like, you have a lot of, you're very artsy. You have so much art inside of you. Like, you are just, the way you dress everything, you're just creativity bomb. You're like bomb. Like, when I meet you, I'm like, whoa. This
Or
is
like my mom
amazing.
calls it, like a deranged gypsy. She's like, can you not dress a little better, Caroline? Like, can I just buy you a white blouse and some navy pants? And I'm like, oh, give me feathers and glitter.
Be classic. No, but,
Exactly. Yeah.
but that's like your webpage, you guys. You have to click on it and look at it. It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Oh, it needs an update, but I do
how
love
the
it.
idea with the poems and with the animals. What? I love it, by the way. I could listen to it again and again and watch it again and again.
Oh,
It's so
I feel
crazy.
so pleased hearing that. I have so much more work like that never manages to get out. You know, it's just when you find yourself in that space, let's call it creativity then, you just have to let it out. Like, you feel something, a book touches you, a word touches you, how the light falls in through, you know, the olive tree outside your window, whatever it is, you know, and if you follow that thread, you end up with stuff like that. So I think if people don't end up with it, it's because they don't notice where their kind of heart gets stirred, or their curiosity gets stirred, or, you know, their mind somehow, or their something chuckles inside of you and you follow it, and then you end up writing poetry or doing a little drawing, or, you know, I feel a lot of shame around all of these things. So most of my most tender writings and things are loads of children's poems. For me, they're not for children, you know, they're for a tender heart to another heart, but I've never showed anyone or published it or tried to get it published, because I don't know, I guess it's my chip on my shoulder that I kind of feel like I'm not enough for the world, or I'm not cool enough, or you know, beautiful enough or refined enough or sophisticated enough. And I don't remember what I read. I read thousands of books, but I can't, you know, go around quoting. Like, I love these podcasts where people quote all these amazing things and you're so inspired and feel so touched.
Yeah,
Like,
can't either.
yeah, right. It's like you just can I I'm smart, am I not? Like, can I just remember this shit? And I don't. And so what's left for me is that simplest of things, like that little poem, those little poems, and then put it into this kind of little app where the animals talk, and like, you know, and you chuckle because you followed something. And for me, maybe if you spoke about that first, that's, you know, how you discover your creativity, or what was that question? It's just when you follow those things that kind of itch your curiosity and you follow them to the end. I think that's where you find your art, and you just have to be kind of open and listen and sense your way to whatever shape or form that takes. For me, it's very naive a lot of the time. So I also do write like complicated screenplays and stuff like that, and that's labor. But my heart's expression is that very naive kind of a poem about a little composer who just goes around, like he sits on an ant and he travels through the forest and he thinks he's doing all the noise. Like, to me, that's satisfying. I write that and then I put it in a drawer, and then, you know, that's it. And I think that's how you keep your heart nourished and alive, by your own.
True.
Yeah, right. And then we find that little piece in other people and their little poems and their little words, and then you kind of know you're not alone, you know.
You
May
are
I ask you
inspiring
then,
me
this
to
is
write a poem.
something out of personal interest, because let's say when you write and you know that you're writing this little poem and you know that you're writing it for yourself, do you think this is the way how to keep it more? I somehow also don't like the word authentic, but for lack of a better word, you know, you know, it's something that just true to yourself. Because when I tend to see that I'm trying to write with having like an audience in mind, that someone is going to read and feel, and then you like almost like your mind interrupts the flow and try to manipulate and be technical and see, okay, that's like, it's maybe like I need to explain it better, or this is not, you know, and then the whole instinct that you have in the first place, it's being substituted by your active mind trying to tell you that, no, you need to like do it better. This is
100%. The creative shaming.
Just for yourself.
It's the worst how we shame ourselves for this, and others too. But, you know, that is out there, like loads of critique. But I think you're so right. Like, but I don't know if the authenticity is the gift, and I think that's why you said you kind of react to that word, and me too. Because what does it actually mean, you know, authenticity? I think what it is just that you stumble upon a truth, and it's so simple that it feels naive. And then you kind of get scared that that naivety is going to be detected by the world, and then you'll be this imposter, you know, who just has this tender heart to share with the world, where we're supposed to be like so clever and genius than the next great American novelist or whatever. And so for me, it's just staying awake to that felt sense of meaning and truth. And if that's authentic or not, it doesn't really, that word doesn't really ring true in any sense. What the fuck is authentic? Like this great anthropologist and writer and mystic, what's her name again? She is one of those great American writers who, she doesn't write novels, but she writes about how to enter your inner world and how to realize that you are a multiple. You are not one. You are many beings, like in this collective inside of yourself. And she calls it, I think, sacred psychology. That's what she calls it. And because I'm in perimenopause, these things escape me, names and shit. And so what's authentic to us? I think so much more is authentic to us than we think. And when you narrow yourself down to like, oh my God, I know I did, like at least early 20s, like I'm so authentic. I'm so authentic. And then you kind of need to let that go and think, well, acting shit or playing on shit or pretending shit is much more authentic to me because my energy is very engaging and alive and playful. So I think that's why maybe we react. I love that you said that you kind of, you have an aversion a little bit to that word.
And authentic is interesting because I mean, everything that has been going on in my life is, I am like, I'm confused myself who I even am.
100%. Yeah.
There are days where I'm like, I know who I am. Oh, this is me. I'm so aligned with myself and I'm such good energy and da 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 da. And then even in that day, all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know anymore. Like, I don't know what I want. What am I doing? So I'm wondering, like, even there, that's why this word is tricky.
It's super tricky. Yeah.
Because we ourselves, or at least I'm just confused myself. And so, yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too. It's like,
maybe the better way is just to like call it curious. Like I'm curious on this moment. Like I'm curious if I ask myself, like, what do I feel? Or how, not even how do I feel, because, you can't do that for 50 years, but how does it feel? Like, how does this air feel? Or how does this pen feel? Or how does this book feel? Or this flower? Or the person walking down the street with, some really crazy clothes? How do they feel? And I think as soon as we ask that question, we're inspired. Because when, that's how we kind of touch the world, and then the world touches us, and then that golden thread comes again, that always leads to creating something, because it fills you up so much. And whenever you're filled up, that's when the itch comes, and that's when you have to get it out of you somehow, through writing or painting or dancing or screaming or singing or whatever. And so I think let's ditch the word authentic and just go, okay, if you're grieving, and then you can be curious about your grief. But like, how can I be curious about what's happening in my world right now around me? And that will, I think, always end up down the road in some kind of expression.
Yeah, I think curiosity is a sure way to keep your mind open.
Yes,
because,
isn't it the best? That's the best word.
It's beautiful.
Curiosity, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because you also have a formal education. You went to the National Film and Television School, and also to this story is connected another one, or the one that ended up in a success. So can you tell us, how did it shape you? Because from my understanding, you started to write early on, so it was more like an instinct, and then you went to the school. And how did that change anything for you? Did it change anything? Did it give you more, kind of empowered you, or how was that journey for you?
Yeah, I think that, as I told you before, I started writing just because I realized I can't breathe anymore if I don't write. And I realized, though, that I started 3 or 4 books, and I always ended up on like page 250, and I could not for the life of me get over that threshold. And since then, I read a lot of books, especially The War of Art, which is a great book to read, where he says that there's kind of a dark entity of resistance that really wants to stop all creators from creating. And I realized that if I don't have a formal setting that will bring me from A to Z, I will probably give up writing now. And so I really wanted to learn story, because I knew I can enter the worlds and the characters and sense everything. But as for story, I really had no grasp of the mechanics of it. So I went to the NFTS in London. And it was a great experience. Not that I wasn't depressed, like I was super depressed for the first year, but it was still, still one of the best experiences in my life. Simply because we had a teacher who forced us to write one synopsis or one kind of short treatment a day. So he didn't let loose. Every day we went home and we had to just think about who's the character, what problems do they have, what obstacles, do they encounter when they try to solve that problem, and how does it resolve? And so for me, that was like I had to face my inner demons with that, for sure, because my brain doesn't really want to construct itself according to those kind of mechanical systems, but I had to, and it was really good. And at the end of it, I felt so liberated having both, like the intuitive, creative, flow of just entering into the worlds of character and story, but also the mechanics of how do they work. And I think you don't have to go to a place like that, and you don't have to learn story in that way. I think for a lot of writers, it's intuitive. We know these things. And I think the dangers of it that I have encountered in myself is that you can get paralyzed. So once you also start this belief like you have to learn the mechanics of story, the structure and the plot and whatever. I mean, at least for me, these words paralyze me, and I all of a sudden feel completely incapable of even bringing a word onto paper. And you know, you have to kind of fight your demons with something. And I remember that this one French screenwriting teacher, she then loosened it up for me, and she said, Caroline, don't be so afraid of structure and plot and stuff. That's for men. I can just quote her. That's for men. Women, we have to follow our intuitive guidance into the process, trust the process, be really awake to where the story wants to take you. Take a little more time, be a little slower, allow everything to unfold in front of you, and don't be scared. And she was my last screenwriting teacher during those 3 years, and so I was so grateful. I think I went home and cried, because she basically gave me this permission to just write. So now I had the kind of classic screenwriting education of story, and I had my intuitive writing from before, and with her permission I could just find my own way. And I think we shall never lose sight of that. I think sometimes, especially when you're working screenwriting, you know, I feel such pressure a lot to create the perfect structure and be fast, and everybody wants you to have an outline in 3 days and treatment in, you know, 4 days and a screenplay in 2 weeks. And I love working fast, because all of us wants to see that it was worth it, it has results or whatever. But I also think that a lot gets lost. That great pieces of writing and art, they really require your faith and your trust. And it's the old alchemical stories of being the hero who goes into the dark forest and has no clue if he'll ever get out of there alive. And I think if we don't have that feeling of fear, of awe, of reverence for the unknown, stories lose something. And I think we see that on screen sometimes too. I think you kind of notice where it's a, you know, a project of producing, or if it's really a labor of myth. And I know what I prefer. I mean, I don't mind being loosely entertained by something if it's, you know, well made, but I can also sense the nourishment when you really feel like the creators are artists who know how to enter that unknown and the wisdom of the process. And I think that's where fairy tales nourish us so much, because that's basically what all fairy tales tell us.
Yeah, that's true. And Caroline, you're amazing.
I'm rambling, babbling.
No, you are making me
way.
want to write.
Oh, I'm
I've
so
always been thinking about
glad.
it, and I never like sat down and I'm like, no, and then I start, you know. But now I'm like,
You did? You never told me that.
I am gonna start writing today.
I feel
I promise
so,
you.
I have shivers. There's
I will
nothing but a
WhatsApp
budding
you
writer.
when I have finished writing today. I can
Please.
and it feels like short, just if it's even a poem, I don't know. But I just feel this, the way you talk about it, you make it so beautiful and yummy and gorgeous and desirable, and just it feels like meditation and everything in one. Wow.
Oh, that's it.
Wow, I want just, and I don't even, I want to say this, but then at one point I'm like, it doesn't feel like right, because we're talking and it's so beautiful the way you're talking about writing. But let's go there to the business side, as in, girl, I'm just saying, you want an Oscar? Like,
Yeah, the film won an Oscar. So the film that I wrote, the
won an
graduation
Oscar.
film. Yeah.
The film. Can you tell us about your manifestation moment? Because it was so beautiful when you told us that the other day. Tell us the story, and I think you're a manifesting queen. I just want to say
Well,
that.
every hundreds or 10,000th time, at least, I'm
You're a
still trying to
manifesting
figure out, because it's happened so spectacularly at some points. Like, why does it fail all other times? Like, what's the difference? I will let you know when I figured that one out. But
Please.
yeah, so when I was in London, I had, or everybody was supposed to have a chance to work, you know, with the director producers and write the graduation movie. And so when the directors reached out to the writers they want to work with, nobody reached out to me. And I felt like an idiot anyway, because I was a little bit older than most people there. But I just thought, oh my God, like that, this is, because this is my chip on my shoulder, you know, that I'm kind of not, it's the wound of insignificance, it's called, you know, like, oh my God, I'm not going to end up leaving this school without having done this. And so I read this book back in the day, one of those classic law of manifestation, law of attraction books called Ask and It's Given. And I thought, why not try it? So basically, I walked down Leicester Square. I was really sad because I hadn't gotten any of these directors to kind of work with me. And at that moment, one of the cinemas, they were going to have a premiere that night. So they were rolling out a huge bright red carpet. And I'm a shy person, so I kind of didn't want to mess with whatever they were doing and like make stains on their beautiful red carpet or anything. But I thought, screw it. Like, I'm just going to do what they say in the book. So I closed my eyes, stepped on the carpet, and really felt like I'm at the Oscars. I'm walking down that red carpet. And the moment I did that, these huge lights, stage lights, just went on my face. And I opened my eyes and I was blinded by this light. And I'm like, this feels great. And that was it. I kind of laughed at myself afterwards and went home, did my stuff. But miraculously, not 2 weeks later, it was exactly 2 weeks later, two of the directors had fought with two of the writers, and both reached out to me. So one, because he knew I grew up Catholic, and he wanted to write a Catholic story about confession, and the other because he knew I was into animation and stuff like that and children's books, and so he reached out, and so I ended up actually writing two instead of just one, and it was really fun. It was collaborative, of course. Tunnel had the idea of this little boy who's going to confession the first time and doesn't have a sin, and then we worked on it together. And they filmed it, and then 2 years later, or 1 year later, it kind of won the student Oscar, and then was nominated for a live action short 2011, and we got to go there. And that was a real eye-opener in a way, because I just remember standing in my nice dress inside this room, and all these famous people were there, and I kind of went crotch to crotch with this famous tall man to the toilets, Mr. Darcy, and I was, and then looking at, all these gorgeous women and Natalie Portman, and just looking around and feeling like I wouldn't mind going again, but at that moment I felt this is not my home. Like, this is business. It's business. People here are business, and how the Oscars works is business, and how they call people out is business. And I was so de-enchanted at that moment that instead of staying in Los Angeles like I should have done and try to get an agent and all of these things, I was approached by loads of people, but I just felt, no, this feels cold and empty to me, and I'll go home and be a novelist. But of course, it was a great experience. I'm so glad I had it. I'm so impressed with Tunnel, who directed the movie. He did such a great job. And it was such a beautiful experience to have your words on screen. It makes you fall in love with the magic of that and what you can do. And so, yeah. And the next time it happened, I think, was a few years later, when I had, written a few books and stuff like that. And I was tired and kind of feeling isolated. And I just thought about that book again, like Ask and It's Given. And I remember it wasn't even like a 20-minute thing. I just sat down, closed my eyes, and just really felt that I'm sitting across the table from this guy, and we're making a movie together, and we're laughing a lot. And it just felt so real. And I didn't even think about it anymore after that. And exactly 2 weeks later, again, this kind of famous, at least very, very experienced German director calls me and says, hey, you probably don't know me, but I read 2 of your screenplays, have no idea how I got them, and I think your voice would be great for this TV series that I'm currently developing, and I haven't found the right writer yet. So not like 2 weeks later, I was flying to Berlin to meet him and the team, and then I worked for 4 years on that TV show and was paid well and was like really just a professional screenwriter from that point on. And yeah, so those are my kind of two big manifestation experiences when it comes to writing. Personally, I've had more, but yeah. So, but also, now I'm asking, hey, can I have this project or that? Nothing's happening. So I have no idea. Damn, it's not time.
So that means, again, listen to or read Ask and It Is Given.
Oh, I've I've gone back to the first law of attraction books from like the 1600s, and then the Bible, which is obviously the first law of attraction book ever written, and yet nothing. So
Ay, ay,
we'll see.
ay.
I'll keep you posted.
Please do. No, I think there are a lot of things that have to be in the alignment for something like that to happen. So
Yeah.
keep it up.
Yeah, I
Keep
think
it
it's a lot about relationship, like if we want to talk about business. And I don't mean networking now, because networking for me feels just, it's not genuine to me to go and, talk to people in this way. So if I ever go networking, which my agent always wants me to do, I always try to see it as just meeting people and sensing them, seeing what they're about. Like if I think about it as networking, I just hide in the toilet for the whole duration of the event. And but it is relationship. So I think, and it's relationship to the weirdest people. Like I think that German director got my screenplays because my then husband had sent 2 early drafts to an old friend of his that he met in an airplane, that she just said, oh, I'm a producer now. And he said, oh, do you want to read the screenplays? And then he never told me. And she forgot about them until then one day when, the Great Spirit heard my prayer and just nudged her shoulder. And she said, oh, damn, I never read those 2 screenplays. Felt ashamed about that, didn't have time to read them. So she sent them to her partner and he read them. Do you know what I mean? That's all relationship.
Yeah.
That was my relationship to my then husband, his relationship to her that he met on an airplane, her taking them into her computer, and her relationship to her partner that made that happen. So I think business-wise, it's all relationships.
It is. I don't know if it helps you, but what helps me, because I have the same with if I'm somewhere, it's networking, and if I'm not fully in my body, I can feel like I'm kind of leaving. Like I have this thing of like, oh, see me, I want to, da da da. What I do is that I walk in, I go to the bathroom, or even if it's just a tiny closet, I will go in there, I'm not kidding you, and just take a moment for myself.
100%.
Ground
100
myself
times.
again.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. I think for some of us who are like maybe slightly, I say this loosely now, autistic or ADHD, like just the buzz of those events and the noise and the craziness around it, it's just very hard to stay connected to yourself. And I mean, I'm not particularly like, I need people to see me or anything like that, but you do want to make connections that feel valuable, right?
Yes.
And in order to do that, you have to show something of yourself. And that can be hard, like if you're totally overstimulated with, the whole caffeinated experience of 3,000 people in some theater in Berlin, kind of thing.
That's true. And you're talking about when you're writing, both the Oscar winning film then, and now with a German director, well-known German director. How is your writing process? Do you prefer writing with others in collaboration, or do you prefer starting on your own? Do you start with character, or do you have is the story there, or does the story appear as you start writing? How is that?
It's always different. So when he came, he had a pitch document. He had worked with other writers, so they had a few drafts of a movie of the same theme. And then he asked me, can you develop this into a TV series with me together? So we had the source material, we had his past attempts, and so we created something from there. And I loved that actually, because, again, you can feel into something and you have a reaction to it. And then you can have, in a way, kind of a fast process because you already know what works or doesn't work, or what it inspires in you that you want to pick up on. So I love working like that. And that's usually, when I'm paid, it's usually like that. Like a director comes with a script and he's not happy with it, or they want the characters to be more alive, or the story to feel more meaningful, or they've, forgotten, parts of the script that are necessary in order to give the audience like really a juicy experience. And I love working like that when it's for money, because you read something, you have a reaction, you're kind of filled with something, and you go, yeah, I can fix this. This is awesome. But when it comes to my own project, of course, it's so different. it's just basically like either having a theme that you're so interested in, like my graduation script, like my feature film script, or I had two of them. One was about the handicapped children in World War II who were all starved to death or poisoned to death. They were put into cages in hospital in Steinhof here in Vienna, and they were just slowly starved to death. And that image haunted me for years. And so I thought at my graduation script, like, I really want to just devote myself to these children. Like, what are we as a humanity to allow this? So that's a very different starting point. And it's more of a struggle, to find your own way to things, but also ultimately more rewarding in many senses. So they're the two of them. And I mean, obviously, when you work with others, it's also such a layered process. In some instances, the writer, director, they don't have much, and you just really, try to figure out what it is that wants to come out here and what the best movie can be. And other times, it's really quite a finished script where you're just hired to improve dialogue or, infuse it with more less standardized characters or things like that. I mean, I like all of it. I like all of these processes. I think I need to be taken out of my own inner world sometimes. It's really rewarding for me to work with people and talk and have it out and fight. And I feel I had such a great relationship with that guy when we wrote the TV series, because we really had like love-hate is a strong word, but we could fight. And I loved that. That felt so alive. We could really fight about story points. And I really enjoyed having somebody that was as engaged in the story that I loved as I was. That felt great to me. And also awful when he cut things. And he just told me, Caroline, I've made 20 movies. Shut the fuck up. And I'm like, I had to say that's true. You have made over 20 movies and hundreds of other things, theaters and operas, and what do I know? Like, I can't say much. I can just go, well, my inner self says that this is right. Like, it's not a great argument, but we really had a fun back and forth with that. And so we might do something this fall together, and I really look forward to that again, because I've been so inside my own head this year to create my own material.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That's such a healthy way to look at it, as conflict. Not conflict, but when you argue with someone about something you care, it's not necessarily about the argument itself or egos. It's about the story, because you care so much and you want it to work in the best possible way.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about what's your relationship with the ownership of the stories that you're writing.
Oh,
you're writing,
God.
obviously, for
That's
yourself.
a loaded question.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, so, when you write a novel, it's entirely your, let's call it your copyright, that's your story and the material is yours. When you're a screenwriter, there are so many layers to this. So if you create the story and you put out a screenplay for sale, a producer who buys it, if you really sell that screenplay to him, can do whatever he wants with it. So that's just how screenwriting works. Like, you're glad to sell something and you have to just open your heart, release the work into the world and see what people do with it. And if you work with producers or directors, like, they can hire you to kind of ghostwrite, in which case you're probably paid quite a lot, but your name will never appear on any type of credit list. Or you are, hired to do a draft where it will say, written by or additional writer, or that's stuff that your agent, kind of works out with the producers from the team. And so it's just knowing, I think, what you say yes to. So the work I did 4 years with these producers and this German director, I felt it was totally work from my soul. And since that show so sadly was canceled just when we had kind of completed the whole season of 8 episodes, it was 3 or 4 drafts. They were really polished. They were ready to be shot. But then the Sky Originals Germany went bankrupt and the whole thing fell like a house of cards. It was so sad because I didn't have the rights to any of those episodes. And some of them I would have loved to turn into a book. They were so close to my heart. I would have loved, or to create a feature. Like, there was especially one episode in which, I don't know if you remember Frankenstein, the Frankenstein books, like Victor Frankenstein, he makes a monster and then he kind of searches for a wife. So the episode where this takes place, we kind of made up our own stuff around that completely, and it was gorgeous. It felt so fun and wild and deep and wounded and healing. And so to me, it's still a grief. This is over a year ago that this whole thing fell apart, but I still grieve it. Like the first 6 months of that falling apart, it felt like divorcing, or like my heart was so broken. Because both me and the director, like all the soul work we put into it, the hours we put into it, the vacations that went into it, like just the sheer love that went into that project really was something special. And so, but I was paid. I don't have the rights to these things, and it was sold then to another TV station who changed it, and who knows what comes out of it. Like, for me, I really hate, because most people, they don't want to share my pain with me in this, so they always go, yeah, but you're paid, be lucky, you're lucky, be happy. And I always feel like that's such a violence on my soul. I would never tell another writer that from this point on, like, you were paid. Doesn't matter, I would have written it even if I hadn't gotten paid. I'm very glad I got paid, but that does not in any way compensate for
True.
the loss that I felt.
Well, it's your baby. When you create something like that, it feels like your baby, right?
Yeah, it's more, it's like your soul. It's like,
your soul.
and when it works out, like when you really feel like, wow, this turned out to be much more than me. This is the dream, right? I think for most artists, is that your work is infused with that quality of the beyond that you're so chasing, and something bigger than you comes out. And that's how it felt. I haven't reread it in a long time, so I might be completely wrong about that. But I think that's also the sense that a lot of people, who producers and other people who read it back in the day, got back to me and really, and also to the director, and said, wow, this was something special. So yeah, so it's a little treasure buried in the deep folds of the time of the universe.
But does it then, I don't think it replaces, but now there's something coming out, The Physician, which you also co-wrote. It's coming
Co-wrote, yeah.
now Christmas, right?
Yeah, we're so excited.
How does that in any way, or is it just something you're allowed, like you allow yourself, you just mourn that one baby or your soul that you put in that piece of artwork, and unfortunately it didn't come to, wasn't shot, yet now you have another movie that's coming out. Was there a big gap between the two of them? And what are you allowed to tell us about that?
Not in the writing.
Obviously.
Like, I think the physician came to me because it's the same director of the series, and he had done a few drafts with an English writer, and felt that it, I think, needed a kind of spark or adventure or something deeper. It's about healing, so it's a really interesting movie, and I really appreciate the director Philip so much for doing this, and for really struggling to get a movie like this made, because it is the follow-up of The Physician 1, which is about this young British guy, medieval kind of times, who goes to Isfahan to become a great physician, a great healer. And so Philip then always felt like he has to do a second movie about him also caring for the soul, like not for the body, but how do we heal the soul. So he went into the depths to find that story, and then he worked with his English writer for a time, and then he came to me to do additional drafts, because he knows that my whole life is about soul and healing, and that from my personal experience I really know what I'm talking about. And so I wrote that draft, and I had the characters to work with and the basic structures. I didn't change much in that, but I think that what really caught me in this draft is how important it is to have relationships on screen. And they had really done a great structure, but I felt that what I could add was really make those relationships real, and the pain real, and the kind of witch in the movie, the druid priestess, to really make her depth clear and visible in her language. And so it was so beautiful and fun to work on this project. It's like I had bliss shivers. I think I only worked on that one draft for like 3 weeks and then an additional rewrite, but because the basic structure was there, so I didn't have to care about that. I could just breathe life, I felt, into these characters and their words, and to make it more challenging and more the relationships more dramatic and with more conflict visible on the screen. And so that was really that was real happiness for 30 days, just pure happiness every day writing that. And so then, of course, now I don't know where they are with it, because I've seen 2 or 3 different cuts of it, and they're all so different. All cuts are so different, and hopefully they will have one long one maybe coming out on TV. I don't know. We've talked about it. And what the last cut is, I have no idea. I have no idea. I will be really, really excited, and you also dread seeing these things because you don't always have the same idea that the directors or producers or editors, and so we'll see. I just loved working on it. I loved what Philip wanted to do with it. Like, I really appreciate him for bringing something like this. It's really a message of soul healing in this spectacular big way.
Wow. And it's coming out this Christmas?
Christmas 25. I think the
And
trailer is online. Is the trailer online?
and will it be on streaming platforms, or is it
In
coming to
cinemas first.
Cinemas. Oh. So we need to go to the cinema.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
We have a date.
I will make sure you do. Buy 10 tickets each, please.
We will make sure that we go. No, I love it. I love that. What heals the soul. That's something that is really necessary in this world.
Yeah. No, I appreciate Philip for that a lot, because he also, in his opera and theater, he always brings out fairy tales and those things that could be seen as to more like, I say contemporary now, but it's like, it's not contemporary what he does. And that's why I feel so at home with him, because I'm not contemporary in any sense. And I feel so ashamed that I'm not more in tune with like contemporary violence and drugs and, you know, that shit. Like, I'm too toward fairy tale and myth and symbols and period piece drama and stuff like that. And he is too. So for that, really, I'm so glad.
Me too, because that is exactly what I love.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. It's nourishing in a different way, isn't it? Like, we need both. But
it is. And it really allows you to, I don't know, leave your world behind, enter another one, but at the same time, you are being touched, you are being healed, you are being, you know, it does reach you, and you take it with you then.
Yeah.
But in a subtler, more beautiful way, I feel.
It also allows you a little bit of a distance, because if you are like doing something contemporary, I mean, it doesn't mean that, you know, it's not like something that is actual, period pieces, for example, but it allows a little bit of a distance, not to take everything so literal.
Oh, I love
feel
that.
like when you're making a comment on something contemporary while doing it in the style of contemporary filmmaking, or, I don't know, writing, it's a bit preachy, and it's also a little bit too in the face. So it's difficult for the audience to even get what you're trying to say, even for yourself to formulate it. But when you're like shaping it in a way, in the period piece, it becomes like a metaphor or something that allows people to detach the meaning for themselves, not just like take it as, you know, like as a finished kind of ready to consume product.
100% agree. Yeah. And that I noticed that when I write contemporary, it's harder for me than when I write period piece, because who I am is elevated in a sense. I am elevated. I love poetry. I love Keats. I love, you know, William Blake. So period piece allows me to speak in my true soul language. So you can have a character who exclaims things in a poetic way that opens my heart and soul. But you can't really have that in contemporary screenwriting, I feel. Like, the great contemporary screenwriters do something else, and it's brilliant, like Breaking Bad, or also Lena Dunham, you know, they catch on to these contemporary things and put them in front of us so we can, see ourselves and how we live today in a way that we need to, and which is great. But it doesn't quite touch, the eternal stirrings of the deep mind, so to speak. And I also feel like beauty is nourishing. Beauty opens the heart. Beauty, opens our senses. And so a movie that doesn't have cars, phones, planes, drones, computers is just more beautiful than, seeing people, modern people on screen whose clothes are boring. We're constantly on our phones, their computer, wires, neon light, buses, trains, planes. I mean, you can make it cinematic, kind of beautiful, like White Lotus or whatever, but then they are on an island and they're not allowed to have their phones in the restaurant. So, he found a loophole there, Mike White.
He did.
Yes.
So it's just what you're called to
What's
do
then
or what
the
you
hope
can
for?
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
What's then the hope for the future projects? What things you want to explore?
Well, I really want to continue writing things like The Physician too. Like I love that world, Hayton kind of fantasy period piece. That's just the genre closest to my heart. That's what I'm turned on by when it comes to screenwriting, like the piano and Amadeus and things like that, or even Sense and Sensibility, Jane Austen. I mean, if I were writing it, they would be quirkier and weirder, but that type. And otherwise, I have 2 or 3 novels that I stopped writing because I started this TV series project, and it's now 5 years ago. And one of them was it was just a little myth that came to me, and it was just fully formed in my head, this like a poem. And I started writing it, and it's like an ancient Japanese matriarchal world where shit is brewing, basically. And slowly but surely, they will be invaded by this emperor from, the Eastern Sea type thing. And that world was so fascinating to discover. Like, this is the glory of writing novels. That there is nothing stopping you. Like in screenplays, you have, the inciting incident and the turning points, then, end act 1, and then the midpoint has to be a celebration of some sort, and then the climb, and it's great. You have these ladders, but in novels, you can do what the fuck you want. And so in this piece, a language came, the very awkward rituals of how they live came, these strange characters, who are traveling these lands came, and I was myself so fascinated by it that, I could have probably spent the rest of my life just writing that, never going outside my home, But then, the TV project came, and so I had to do that. So if I have one dream for the future, it's those two, to continue that story, to have the space to continue that story and to keep on writing period piece movies, to have them made, to win an Oscar.
Woo! You have won an Oscar.
For best screenwriting and best movie and best acting and best cinematography and best everything. Yeah.
Best in everything. And I'm not. And then you question yourself.
Yeah.
I think there should be this category: best in everything.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Humble.
That is really funny. That's
humble.
really fun. Like best in everything. Here you go.
Super best in everything. Yeah.
Here's your Oscar.
Here's the Oscar. When you talk about your characters, they feel so alive. And me as an actor, I had this feeling like, I don't know why, just the way you describe it, the way you put your heart and soul into it, it just comes alive in front of me. Like I feel like I can embrace it. I'm like, wow. Have you ever considered directing?
Yeah, every second day, you want to do that, especially if you see that the director makes choices that you're like, what the fuck? No, it should be like this. But on the other hand, directing is such a hard job, and you would not write for 2 years or a year when you do these things. So I don't know. I've always playing with that idea. And at the same time, I don't know if I have the willpower and the stamina right now to really learn that craft in the depth that it would have to be learned in order to create the quality that I would not be happy otherwise. So, but thank you for asking. Yeah, of course, that's also a kind of a nudge, a dream, to get the opportunity one day. If somebody asked, hey, we have this great thing or your movie, we saw it, we want you to direct it. Yeah, I'd just say yes straight away and just jump
You're like,
in.
hell yeah.
Yeah, and not because I wouldn't shit myself, but because, like also writing this series, at some point I was in this field of like, the producer wants this change, the director wants this change. I feel this is the right thing. I could not see an answer to how to create a coherent whole with all of these notes. And you just have to release and surrender that part of yourself and just go, well, whatever writes in me will just have to write. Like, I can't plan this, fix it, control it, or try to structure it. And it worked out every time. So with time, you get such a fantastic kind of confidence in that thing itself, that's not you. Because, there are parts in that series that I can't, that's with acting. I've heard actors say, like, it starts breathing through you, the character,
Yeah.
and you enter a
That's
kind of
the
trance
best.
state almost. And I mean, it's so glorious to experience that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that directing might be the same. You just have to trust your response on the instinct and the kind of having a great team around you. So that's why I wouldn't
And
say no to a
trusting.
chance like that.
And trusting the timing, right? That's also that. Do you trust the timing or do you think that's bullshit?
I don't know. What is timing? I hate timing of my life. Like, I'm ready for many more new things. I don't know. So what does it mean to trust timing? I guess so. I guess you have to. I mean, what else can you do, right?
Yeah.
Be super
Maybe
frustrated
it's just
every day.
something we're telling ourselves to soothe our minds and go like, it's okay. You're not too late. Everything's fine. And then it's like, trust the divine timing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that.
I don't know about those things. Like, words like that don't touch me. That's all I can say. Like, I don't, when I hear those things, all I hear, like, if I'm grieving about something, for example, and somebody tells me, yeah, well, just trust timing, all I hear is, your grief is too much for me right now, and I don't want to enter the space with you and be present with you here. So here are a few words to kind of shut you up again and shame you a little for feeling grief about this or that. Yeah, so words like that don't really work, in my opinion, for most people. Depending when they're said, I guess.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I don't know, it's just something like you're saying that it soothes my soul, because that's how I feel as well. There are a lot of ways of like how people trying to emotional bypass things, and
Yeah.
it's, for me, it's like the same with feel grateful. Yes, it's important, but then it's just not a band-aid for everything. There are things that you just don't feel grateful
Exactly.
at the moment.
A
Doesn't
band-aid,
mean that,
great word.
yeah.
You feel when somebody's just trying to put a band-aid on your deep, wanting to express something deeper in that space. And of course, everybody can't hold it, right? But we do often wish to have great friends close by, or who really can just enter that space with us and hold our hands while we feel something. And without those feelings, there is no creation, because our feelings are the nourishment, the very stuff that it's all made of. All the things we do.
I prefer, I think sometimes because myself has been so intense and I've been just feeling so much without even wanting to feel it. It's just in my face. That, Band-Aid sometimes is not bad. Like if I'm able to, just to be very honest. There are times when like somebody says like, oh, you just don't run from it, feel it. I'm like, I'm so in it. I cannot not feel it. And can I just concentrate on something beautiful, please? Thank you. Because it's so intense that it feels like my heart is fucking gonna explode.
But that's not a band-aid then. That's a
I would love a
lifeline
Band-Aid
that
on
you're
it.
feeling. Like, your soul knows how to balance, your psyche. So if you would go into a meditation, like an inner council meditation, sacred, sacred psychology, you would go, who in me is feeling this grief? And you would ask that person, what do you need right now? And that person would say beauty. And so you turn to beauty, and then you're balanced again. So that's not a band-aid. That's a process being started,
It's beautiful. That's a beautiful way of saying that. Yeah.
Band-aid is when somebody's like, somebody's doing this. And in this case, it seems like if you're feeling a lot and you're about to be overwhelmed by deep grief or by loads of conflicting feelings, and somebody says just feel it all, they have not truly felt you, because then they wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Then they
Because
would
it
just
would-
go, wow, this feels quite a lot right now. What do you need?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Oh, that's beautiful.
It's so much fun to talk about all of this. It's all intertwined somehow.
It is. And girl, you are my naughty girl. Have
Naughty
you
girl
ever-
or Nordic
No-
girl? I hope
You're a
naughty.
naughty girl and you're a naughty girl.
Somewhere behind these poodle locks, there is a naughty person as well. Yes.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Do you also write in your mother tongue?
No, never. I cannot for the life of me do that. I did write one novel in Swedish because I thought, damn it, like, why do I write in English? I cannot even exist in the German language, I feel like sometimes. And so I started writing in English. But Swedish, it was a real struggle. But a few years ago, I felt like I needed to conquer that again, to really take that language back to me and make it my own. And so I did write a very short love novel, friendship novel in Swedish. Yes, it was never published. It was rejected by the only 4 publishers Sweden has to offer. So we'll see. I have translated it to English and I might send it out to English publishers. We'll see. It's one of these things where, you carry so many things and sometimes I don't know where to put my energy, because I have 50 kind of active, half active projects around. But it was beautiful to write in Swedish and kind of find my own way to the language again. But it's not something I prefer or I would like doing again. No.
No.
No. English has
Being
become the
connected to-
universal language somehow. We are also used to
has.
speaking it, and especially expats. And
Yeah, it has. I write myself in English. It's interesting.
yeah,
It's very interesting.
you've also lived abroad for a long time, no?
I have.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. Well, we're both based in Austria. And I kind of like mix them even sometimes when I'm writing. I can do that, but mostly English. But yeah, I do mix too. Like, I don't know, there's like Icelandic and then there's German and then there's English. And it's like kind of how I feel. Or if I
That's
don't want
cool.
anyone to read it, it will be Icelandic.
It would look so cool, though.
So that's a kind of mixture thing. But yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
This has been amazing, Caroline.
Thank you so much. Oh, can I say one thing about
Please.
characters? Because I thought about it when you asked.
Please.
Yes,
Like, if anybody's ever struggling, I want to give my most secret hot tip about writing that I can give.
please.
And that is love your characters. If you're ever stuck, I realize that in my writing, if I'm stuck, it's because I'm not loving my character. Like, all you have to do is dive back into the story and love your character as a real person. And then every block will be resolved and you will, at least that's my experience, just see something about them that inspires you again. That love, will make you so curious again about that character, so that the next action, the next thing you do, you'll be so curious about it that the story continues as of its own.
Thank you.
That's my that's all I can give in this whole world, maybe, is that one little
Thank
that one
you.
little trick.
I love this tip because when you're like trying to, if there is a creative block, sometimes the way to get around, you get technical.
Oh,
Like, okay, this story needs to like, and that blocks you even more because
Oh,
it blocks
100%,
all
yes.
the feelings, it blocks everything. But just to find love, this is the simplest but the most probably helpful tip that one can give.
I think so too. It saved me over and over and over in my fear and my paralysis of not, being good enough or doing a great enough draft or a great enough structure, or just feeling paralyzed as to the next step. And every time it worked out great just after getting into that space.
Thank you. Wow.
You're so welcome, and thank you for spending this time with my crazy mind. Really enjoyed it.
So pleasure.
Your precious mind. Just want to say that. You have really inspired me. That is not me just saying that. This is me sitting down and writing. I have
I love that so much.
It's very special. I want to thank you for that. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you all gonna inspire a lot of gorgeous souls out there to write and sit down. And what you do is you give yourself permission to create. You give yourself permission to go down that, if it's a rabbit hole, whatever it is, you just follow it. You're like, okay, I'll follow the rabbit. I'm gonna follow the rabbit, and I'm gonna embrace it, and I'm gonna say yes to it. And if it ends up being poems spoken by some animated animals on your webpage, which I love, then that it is it. And it made me smile like, I was just like, I can't stop. Glad. And I was talking to Valeria, but I was like, I can't stop clicking on these. I need to listen to every single one. Like, I can't. So
I think that's when your shame of yourself makes you even more creative, because I mean, these poems are so silly and stupid and elevated, but how can I make them approachable, in what format can they live that's going to be amusing to other people? And that's when it came to me. If animals spoke them, then their true naive essence will be very fun to people, And so it's always like that. Sometimes you just find the right form for what you're doing, and then all of a sudden, people respond.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Thank you so much for this talk. You are the sweetest, best listeners ever. I hope I didn't talk and rant too much.
Loved all of it. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Thank you, girl.